Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's April 3rd, 2016. In recent weeks, I have been talking about Amtrak train crash hoaxes and how they are riddles for future news stories and rigged sports outcomes. And I know on the surface that probably sounds insane to most people. Before I go any further, let me just show you this comment that was left on my YouTube channel. I think this is a very honest comment. I understand completely why this person wrote this. Hi, Zachary. When I first stumbled upon your channel a few days ago, I wasn't sure if you may have been crazy or not. Haha. But after watching closely and listening to your channel, our whole lives are scripted by the governing body that rules this world, and I'd love to be able to crack the codes and open others up to the farce world that they have around them. Could you send me some links to help me understand more numerology and gematria, please? I'll be sure to respond to this person's comment. I just wanted to read it because anyone who comes to my channel and sees the stuff I am exposing might very well think I'm crazy. The reason that is so is because I am exposing crazy people. And these people behave in insane ways for insane purposes. So, what I want to do here is I just want to watch the mainstream news coverage, the emergency crew that went before the TV responding, filling us in as they read their note cards. And then I want to show you all that is riddled into this train crash. Again, just weeks ago, before the men's college basketball tournament happened, I explained how the Philadelphia train wreck of May 12th, 2015 was connected to the NBA Finals last year. And I also explained how that train wreck was connected to the Kansas Garden City train wreck of March 14th, 2016, just before the men's basketball tournament started for college. And now, here, the day before the championship game for the college championship tournament, the basketball tournament, we get another Philadelphia train wreck. And this one is a real doozy. Please finish this video. Your mind will be blown, but at the same time, you will have very important knowledge to work with, and you will better understand the way this world truly operates. I'm also going to review yesterday's Final Four games and show you how they were scripted and fit into all of this. So here we go with the news footage. Let me get this big for you. Volume's up. Turn up your speakers. Here we go.
Around 8 o'clock this morning, we had a call out for a vehicle accident. A vehicle was struck on the tracks. We established unified command with Amtrak, and we began to handle the situation. We had 341 passengers on the train. 35 were hospitalized, non-life threatening. We had 2 deceased, but they were not passengers on the train. Okay, we have most of the situation under control now. People are being rerouted back to Philadelphia.
The NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, is en route. They will handle the investigation. Amtrak will support their efforts. Service on Amtrak's Northeast Corridor is currently suspended between Philadelphia and Wilmington. We'll be working to restore service as soon as possible. On Amtrak's Northeast Corridor is currently suspended between Philadelphia and Wilmington. We'll be working to restore service as soon as possible.
All right, so there that was. Hopefully that was loud enough. You could see them looking down at their cue cards, very low energy. I think these men know that it's a drill, it's a hoax, and they can't believe they're being put out before the media to have to do this. Anyhow, let's go through the story piece by piece. Lots of important information here. Supposedly, the train hit a backhoe, which is one of these. Everyone's seen these at construction sites. The train hit a backhoe and derailed. No reason for why the backhoe was there. That's just the story. What I notice about backhoe is it has gematria of 79, just like the word champion. And this story comes a day before the college basketball championship. One of the teams in the championship is Villanova, that is located next to Philadelphia. And last year, the Golden State Warriors won the NBA Finals that was connected to the Philadelphia train wreck. The Warriors are originally from Philadelphia. Last year, Iguodala was the MVP, an unexpected MVP who played the majority of his career with the Philadelphia 76ers. the Philadelphia basketball team that replaced the Warriors when they left. As I pointed out in the first video I did at the beginning of the tournament where I predicted North Carolina would win, I talked about how Amtrak equals 64, March Madness equals 64. I thought the championship would be North Carolina over Kansas. I overlooked the Villanova-Philadelphia connections. Major omission in the beginning. Anyhow, Villanova Wildcats equals 64, who upset the Jayhawks, the favorites to win the tournament, 64. Lots of 64. And it connects to March Madness, the nickname for the college basketball tournament that has its championship tomorrow. So with regards to that reporting of about 340 people, it reminds me of Tar Heels. Tar Heels equals 34. Again, they won the championship 34 years ago with Michael Jordan in 1982, Dean Smith, the coach, Roy Williams, the assistant, who's now the head coach of the team. They say the train was destined for Savannah, Georgia. When it's written this way, Savannah, Georgia equals 34, like Tar Heels. The train was on the way there, derailed. Talk more about how Georgia's important in a moment. Just read the news blurb. An Amtrak passenger train derailed Sunday morning south of Philadelphia while en route from New York to Savannah, Georgia, the company said in a statement. The train struck a backhoe that was on the tracks, Amtrak said. About 341 passengers and 7 crew members were on board. Amtrak said some people were being treated for injuries but did not specify how many. This number 341, think about the last wreck that was in Kansas, the team that got beat by Villanova from Philadelphia. You know, there was a train derailment in Kansas. Anyhow, that was on March 14th, 3/14. Here's the same numbers from that date, 341. It's like a reshuffling of those numbers. The path of the train was right here when it crashed. Destined for Savannah, Georgia. Georgia, one of 2 states with a gematria of 44. The other is Wisconsin. Last year, the championship was won by Coach K, who's born on the 44th day of the year, known as Lupercalia. Lupercalia has gematria of 44. They defeated Wisconsin. Again, Wisconsin equals 44. Their star player was Frank Kaminsky, whose birthday was April 4th, the date of this year's championship, and Frank Kaminsky wore the number 44. 44 is always a major number in sports. The powers that be often find ways to structure the championships around this number, year after year, sport after sport. Tomorrow, April 4th, also happens to be a date with 44 numerology because of the year. 4 plus 4 plus 20 plus 16, 44. Not only is it April 4th, it's a date with 44 numerology. They say this train wrecked in Chester, just outside of Philadelphia. I noticed Chester supposedly is 18.7 miles out of Philadelphia. Could be a coincidence, but 187 is the homicide code. When Villanova defeated Kansas, Bill Self, Kansas's head coach, suffered his 187th loss. The homicide code, Kansas lost with 59 points. The word kill in Jewish gematria equals 59. And the game prior, Kansas won with 79 points on a garbage bucket by Frank Mason. The word murder also equals 79. Kind of interesting how that all lined up with Kansas getting knocked out by Villanova. Chester, Pennsylvania in gematria. Chester is a place with 33 gematria, often a number coded into the hoaxes, significant to the Masons, the Zionists, the Jesuits who rule over us. When they first reported what had happened, they said that 31 people were injured and 2 died, a sum of 33. They've since upped the injured total to 35, saying 2 died, 35 injured. But initially it was 2 dead, 31 injured in Chester. Chester, Pennsylvania in simple English gematria sums to 230. Reminds me of 23, the number Michael Jordan wore. Yesterday, North Carolina won with 83 points. 83 is the 23rd prime number. I noticed that right now the Vegas over-under on the championship game is set right at 152 points. Pennsylvania equals 152. Blue Devils, Duke Blue Devils equals 152. Last year they won the tournament, another parallel to last year. If North Carolina wins tomorrow, it will be the 3rd time in history that North Carolina and Duke, both teams from North Carolina, have won back-to-back. The train was traveling from New York to Savannah when it derailed outside of Philadelphia. Think about how North Carolina advanced over the New York team yesterday. Syracuse, as predicted, it was Syracuse's 38th loss in their 38th year of being in the tournament to UNC, which equals 38 in gematria. Talked about that in the preview video. So anyhow, 44, big number on this tournament that ends on April 4th. Villanova just won 95-51 yesterday. Tomorrow's April 4th, the 95th day of the year. Again, the Philadelphia train wreck last year to the train wreck at the beginning of the tournament in Kansas was a span of exactly 44 weeks. In my preview video, which I have linked in the description that I made before the tournament, you can watch, you can see how I talked about that and said how that would be important in the upcoming tournament. You know? Here we go, the day before, another train wreck. What else I noticed is this headline that CNN had up for a second, Amtrak train derails. Villanova is located in Radnor Township, which in gematria is identical to Amtrak train derails. So I'm asking myself, is this part of the riddle? Are they saying Villanova is about to come off the tracks in favor of North Carolina? These riddles, you have to connect a lot of dots. You have to have enough knowledge to put them together. And when it comes to college basketball, I'm definitely lacking. I don't know that much about college basketball, but I know enough about the rigging to figure out enough. There's a reason I picked North Carolina to win the tournament despite not having watched a single college basketball game all season. So anyhow, here's where it gets really mind-blowing. This is where it gets really interesting. Last year in Philadelphia, there was the train wreck on May 12th, the 132nd day of the year. And this train wreck had a lot of connections to Pope Francis. I did many videos on this last year. Catholic Church in gematria equals 132. The train wreck in Philadelphia was on the 132nd day of the year. Think about the beginning of this nation. Philadelphia, the original capital of the nation. The name Philadelphia comes from Revelation in the Bible. It has these Christian connections. Of course, the Catholic Church associated with Christianity. The Catholic Church is also who paid for Christopher Columbus once upon a time to sail to the Americas. The Catholic Church, the Jesuits, they've been with the nation since the beginning. Major power players and the things that go on in this nation. From the Philadelphia train wreck on the 132nd day of the year to today's Philadelphia train wreck, or train wreck just outside of Philadelphia, is a span of 10 months and 22 days. The reason this stands out is because in numerology, 0 doesn't count. This number's a lot like 122. Train wreck equals 122. Pope Francis equals 122. I also point out that Golden State equals 122 because last year the train wreck foreshadowed their fate, their coming win in the tournament. Now stay with me. Pope Francis visited the United States this year. He arrived on September 22nd, and when he arrived, he did something special in North Carolina, which we're going to get to. And he left on September 27th, which is the Jesuit order's birthday, also known as the Society of Jesus. And if you're not aware, Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope. Jesuit has gematria of 84, just like United States of America. Pope Francis has birth numerology of 84. Again, he's the first Jesuit pope. They say the Jesuits were responsible for the assassination of Lincoln, who died on a date with 84 numerology. And I'll have you know that like these train crash hoaxes, a lot of our past history is also hoaxes. Lincoln was shot by an actor in a theater. And there's a whole lot more to it than that. But just think about it. The world is a stage. So anyhow, from the date that Pope left, which was September 27th on the Jesuit order's birthday, until the championship tomorrow is 191 days. Or 6 months and 9 days. But 191 stands out because Society of Jesus in gematria equals 191. Plus, Pope Francis has some 44 connections of his own. Pope Francis in Jewish gematria equals 404. Again, 0 doesn't count, a lot like 44. Amtrak crash in Jewish gematria also equals 404. And again, up here, Pope Francis and Trainwreck both equal 122. So the initial reporting, 2 people dead, 31 injured. Again, a sum of 33 in Chester, which has gematria of 33. And with regards to the 31 injured, the word basketball has gematria of 31. Remember, Villanova won the championship in 85, 31 years ago. Basketball the big way equals 85. 85 was also the year the tournament expanded to 64 teams. Villanova Wildcats equals 64. So Villanova has some alignment. If I'm wrong about North Carolina winning and Villanova wins, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm just going to say that. For all of you who are leaning towards Villanova and that's who you think's going to win, go with your heart. I mean, if that's what you think, go with it. Because if they win tomorrow, I'm not going to be surprised. But I'm still leaning towards North Carolina. In my mind, more lines up for them. CNN's latest headline says 2 die in Amtrak crash. 2 die in Amtrak crash, the way they have it, sums to 73. Train hits backhoe, the way this begins, 73. Carolina, 73. And I pointed out earlier this year, I guaranteed Alabama would beat Clemson in the football game. By the end of the game, Alabama won. They won their 16th title in the beginning of 2016. The sum of the score was 85 points. And at the time, I had already said that the Super Bowl was going to be Broncos and Panthers. National Football League equals 85. The Carolina Panthers ended up going down to the Denver Broncos. And the Denver Broncos, after the game, were compared to the 85 Bears by Barack Obama, who congratulated them. Also, Ron Rivera played for the 85 Bears, the coach of the Panthers. Anyhow, National Football League equals 85. Basketball equals 85. North Carolina, not known for being, the football state, but they are known for being the basketball state. So I feel like North Carolina has pay due coming back after these 2 other major sports championship losses. I feel like Carolina is due. And also, Philadelphia ultimately has been getting the brunt of a lot of nastiness in this past year, while Golden State has been dominating the NBA. The 76ers have been failing. Remember, Warriors originally from Philadelphia. Those teams have a relationship. Warriors began the season with a record winning streak. Philadelphia began with a record losing streak. Those men we saw in the news at the beginning, reading the cue cards, looking off, this guy with his hand in his pockets, Stephen Gardner, Amtrak Executive Vice President, his name in gematria sums to 78. To me, that stands out right away because this is the 78th men's basketball tournament. This hoax crash is definitely connected to tomorrow's game. Fitting that they would have him out there to read the script. Also consider that the Kansas train wreck was in Garden City. This guy's name is Gardner. Stephen, also a 33 name like Chester. The other guy they had reading, he couldn't keep his eyes off the cue card. Some cue carders some cue card readers are better than others. Travis Thomas, his name in gematria is interesting, 48. Final 4 equals 48. We just finished the Final 4. 57 connected to championship. You see this name Thomas, it has the 2231 gematria just like basketball. Travis has 35 gematria just like Catholic. From the very beginning, I've been pointing out all the Catholic tributes throughout the tournament too. Gonzaga in their first game, Gonzaga equals 35, Catholic equals 35. Gonzaga, a Catholic school, they scored 35 points in the first half of their upset. There's been other Catholic tributes throughout the tournament. It's been a major theme. Always a lot of Jesuit schools in the tournament, though. It's no surprise. Jesuit schools got basketball courts. And 66 also stands out because 66 connects to Revelation. Revelation, the 66th book of the Bible. Again, Philadelphia comes from Revelation. South Philly where they're saying the train wrecked. They're referring to the area is South Philly, even though it's Chester. Has gematria that syncs up with his name. Travis the Big Way, also a name that connects to Catholic. And then the update is it's not 31 hurt anymore, it's 35 hurt. And again, Catholic, 35 and 71. So now check this out. When Pope Francis was coming into the United States, before he touched down in Washington, D.C., there was this headline about how he circled Tick Bight, North Carolina 3 times. After a brief holdover, Tick Bight, North Carolina, the Pope is again headed towards D.C. And at the time I was going, what's all this about? I mean, why is he circling Tick Bight? Why is this a national news story? Notice that Tick has Jewish gematria of 122. Also, Tick equals 43, which stands out because March equals 43. The men's tournament begins in March. Tar Heels equals 43. Champion equals 43. As I pointed out in the Elite 8 round, North Carolina got a major tribute at halftime from ESPN, signaling that they would be the champions. At least that's how I interpreted it. They had 43 points at halftime. They had a picture of one of their players shooting with the word championship in the background, plus more. Tar Heels, champion, they all equal 43. When Pope Francis was circling Tick Bight, North Carolina, this might have been what it was all about. And if you go back and watch my videos from the time Pope Francis was here, I said it's important to document all this because it's going to point to future news stories. I've learned that this is how the powers that be, the mainstream media, the sports leagues, I've learned that this is how they're all intertwined, as crazy as it seems. Remember the user comment we began with. They thought I was crazy, but in record time, they figured out this is what it's all about. Tick Bight also has the gematria of 79 in simple English gematria, also like champion. Was Pope Francis, was part of his visit beginning with emphasizing who would be the college basketball champion. Don't kid yourself. Jesuit schools, basketball, this stuff's important to them. And sports, one of the main things that's used to run the world. Because the powers that be know if the men are distracted, if the men are on their asses, if the men are shoveling beers down their throat, if they're eating potato chips, and they're just, with the TV remote all day watching sports games, they're easy to rule over. I don't know if you know this, but in the Vatican, they have a giant statue of an acorn. And the acorn represents the pineal gland, which represents your third eye in your mind. The statue is a tribute to controlling the minds of the world. And sports, one of the most effective ways to control the minds of the many people of the world at this day and age. Something else I want to point out, Jesuit, 84. Sunday equals 84. This train wreck comes on a Sunday morning. They said it happened at 8 a.m., the 480th minute of the day. 4-8, 8-4. Obama, the president who met with the Pope when he came, in Jewish gematria equals 84. Obama, his birthday is August 4th, 8-4. Think about Obama in the college tournament. When his presidency's over, one of the things he's going to be most remembered for is his annual tournament predictions. Obama predicted Kansas would beat North Carolina in the championship this year. And of course, United States of America also sums to 84. If you've never read the book 1984 by George Orwell, please read that book. It was a taunt about the future world we'd be living in that we now live in. I also want to point out that Tick Bight's on the 35th parallel north, also syncing up with Catholic, where Pope Francis circled 3 times the Catholic leader. And also, just in case you've missed my work on the Philadelphia train wreck, let's review real quick. We talked about how it's on the 132nd day. It was also at 9:23 p.m. Pope Francis and Obama met on September 23rd. Pope Francis took the White House lawn at 9:23 in the morning on 9/23, September 23rd. These people are very religious about executing by the numbers. And for any of you who have a Bible, if you open it up, The fourth book of the Bible is called Numbers. In numerology, 4 is the number of foundation. In the Bible, the fourth book is called Numbers. Philadelphia train wreck by the numbers. And you might recall, as I said, this was connected to the NBA championship. The Warriors defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers led by LeBron James. And LeBron James in Jewish gematria equals 923. He starred in a movie Trainwreck that came out 66 days after the train wreck. This is interesting because LeBron equals 66. And again, Revelation, the 66th book of the Bible. Think about the name King James. The King James version of the Bible, 66 books in length. Also, from the NBA Finals start, which was June 4th last year, to the date his movie Trainwreck came out, a span of 44 days. King James, gematria of 35 and 44. It also equals 53, I should note. Religion equals 53. From the train wreck to the movie, 66 days that LeBron starred in. And from the start of the NBA Finals to the debut of the movie, 44 days. Both numbers that sync up with LeBron James in a major way. News, sports, by the numbers. All right, now moving on. We've covered the train wrecks. Now let's look at yesterday's games. After Villanova won, ESPN had up this. Final Four, minute 44 ticker. As I've been explaining, 44, a major number on the tournament. When you write out 44, it sums to 144. When you write out April 4th, it sums to 144. April 4th this year is a date with 44 numerology. North Carolina will be entering the game with 44 tournament losses. I predicted that they wouldn't lose it all in the tournament, winning the championship, finishing with 44 losses. This was a record win in the Final Four, 44 points in the Final Four. 4-4-4, 3 fours in a row equals Masonic in English gematria. It's the Masons, the Zionists, the Jesuits. They are the secret societies that operate by this numerological code. They are what people refer to as the New World Order, the Illuminati. Then they put up this timestamp, 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Remember, Masonic in Jewish gematria equals 223. The synagogue of Satan, the name given to the false Jews who will rule in the end times, equals 223. This number is connected to 666 and 144. I've talked about this many times. These numbers are connected to Bible verses in Revelation. They're connected to the number pi. I don't want to explain it all right now. I have videos on this. I'll link them in the description. Just know, all of these numbers are related. There's a reason ESPN puts them on the screen. And real quick, I just want to read this verse, or these few verses from Revelation. Revelation 3:7 through 3:13. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things saith he that holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Revelation acknowledges that the synagogue of Satan are the rulers of the end times. The synagogue of Satan 223, Masonic 223, they're the ones running the show by the numbers, rigging the games. Another phrase often referred to in Revelation is the beast. The beast in Jewish gematria 311. Look at this timestamp on Villanova's coach. His full name equals 96 in gematria. Villanova's in their 96th year of being a basketball program. Freemason equals 96. Villanova won 95-51 by 44 points. A lot of things interesting in this score. Let's start with the 51. Conspiracy and Freemason both have gematria 51. So does Sooners. Sooners equals 51. They were going for their 42nd win on 4-2. They fell short. Both teams with 33 gematria. Sooners equals 33, so does Orange. Both teams with 33 lost yesterday in the Final Four. 33, often the number of sacrifice in big games. head coach of Oklahoma, Lonnie, 33 gematria. His birthday will come 137 days after the college championship this year. That's the 33rd prime number. In hindsight, they were set up for the ritual sacrifice by the numbers. It had been 20 years since Lon Kruger, the head coach of Oklahoma, had been in the Final Four. Again, basketball equals 22-31. Oklahoma 31. Villanova advanced over them in the Final Four. 31 years since they'd last been there. They won the championship that year. Something to think about. They won it 31 years ago. Could they do it again? It was also a 2-seed versus a 2-seed, Villanova and Oklahoma, 2 versus 2, kind of like 22, basketball's 22. ESPN had this up a lot last night. Villanova's full court inbounds pass for layup. Looked like a football play. And of course, them winning by 44 with 95 points stands out because the championship's on the 95th day of the year this year. It's a leap year, 4-4, the 95th day. You see how it's scripted? So many people say, Zach, how could they? I get how they get the pros to sell out for all the money, but how did they get these young college men to sell out? Which, just to me, anybody who asks me that question tells me that they weren't ever a college man themselves, haven't ever known any college men. Most college men are after one thing, and they put it above money and all else. And these college basketball players, they get a lot of it. You know, there's a lot of ways to a men's heart to make them sell out. Not that hard to imagine if you just think about it. Also, the last time these two teams met, Villanova and Oklahoma, was on Pearl Harbor Day. Pearl Harbor Day. They met at the Pearl Harbor Classic. Pearl Harbor Day has a gematria of 144. Connects to the 44-point loss and who's advancing to the championship on April 4th. That game was 118 days earlier. March Madness, the big way, equals 118. It was all planned out. All planned out. All this big emphasis on 44. Here it is. From Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, to yesterday's game, April 2nd, 118 days. March Madness, 118. Teams that played each other, Oklahoma Sooners, Villanova Wildcats, 64-64, just like Kansas Jayhawks is 64. There's a reason all these 64 teams are annually so good and make it deep into the 64-team tournament. 46 and 64, important numbers to the powers that be as well. Psalm 46 has all sorts of tributes coded into it in the King James Version of the Bible. Villanova currently has 35 wins. Actually, check that. I'm not sure about that. They might be going for their 35th win, but just remember the connection to Catholic and 35. Their point guard, remember, he has the 78 connection. This is the 78th men's tournament. He got the big birthday boy tribute when they defeated Kansas. Won on his birthday in the big upset. All right, now let's check out the North Carolina over Syracuse. This one was fairly easy to see. They won 83-66. We'll talk about what's special, the sum of this score in the end. Remember 66, this number that connects to revelation. The two cities in this nation with all the revelation connections are New York City and Philadelphia. I've done lots of work on this. These are the Zionist Masonic Meccas. Or excuse me, I take that back. New York and Chicago are the Zionist Masonic Meccas, but New York and Philadelphia have all the Revelation connections. Revelation, the 66th book in the Bible. Also, the Philadelphia 76ers, the basketball team, were originally the Syracuse Nationals. Connection between Syracuse and Philadelphia. Syracuse got their 38th loss in their 38th year of being in the tournament to UNC, which has 38 gematria. Let me zoom this in. Make that bigger for those of you having trouble seeing. Revelation is based on the 39 books of the Old Testament. Syracuse has gematria of 39, just like New York. Syracuse also has gematria of 48, like Final Four. Their season ends in the Final Four. Again, both Orange and Sooners equal 33. Numbers of sacrifice. Think about Jesus on the cross at age 33. Jesus and cross both sum to 74. North Carolina defeated Notre Dame, the Catholic school, on Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday equals 44. Notre Dame finished with 74 points. On Easter, Jesus and cross equals 74. Only the 33rd state, Oregon, has a gematria of 74. This nation, from the beginning, created by the numbers. These numbers we see coded into the sports games are just part of the ongoing ritual that has been with the world for a long time, for as long as these people have been in power. North Carolina won with 83 points, again 83, the 23rd prime. Michael Jordan won with North Carolina 34 years ago. Tar Heels equals 34. Think about MJ, how he wore 23. His initials MJ, M's the 13th, J the 10th. His initials are 23. New York and Syracuse both have similar gematria. New York and Syracuse in English gematria both sum to 666, a number connected to prophecy, a number that fits in with North Carolina being in their 106th year of having a basketball program. New York, established on a date with 39 numerology, again, revelation based on the 39 books of the Old Testament, New York equals 39. Also a date with 121 numerology, revelation equals 121. Also July 26th, in English gematria, revelation equals 726, a lot like July 26th. This is also the date the FBI was established in history, also run by this same outfit, run by the numbers. Once you see what's going on, it's undeniable. They had this after the game, Roy Williams. As I pointed out, North Carolina had 116 wins in the tournament coming into the game. Syracuse was in their 116th year of their basketball program. Fitting that they put this number up here after the game, huh? ESPN does this all the time. Pro sports, college sports, all signs of the rigging and who's all in on it. ESPN. There's a reason they show less highlights and give people more jibber jabber at this day and age. You know, they know more and more people are waking up to the lies, seeing the rigging. That's why they give you more nonsense and less actual material. In the first half of this game, the score was 28-39. Notice that North Carolina had 39 against Syracuse. That's also a sum of 67 points. North Carolina equals 67. As for 39, Dean Smith also equals 39, who died last year on a date with 44 numerology, the kill number. This year, the Carolina Panthers lost on that same date a year later. 39-44, the way that North Carolina scored for the halves. Important numbers. So this is our matchup of prophecy. You know, I talked about this in the first game. I said how it was all prophecy for North Carolina, and in the beginning I explained why Kansas made a lot of sense. Roy Williams used to coach at Kansas. He left Kansas to go to North Carolina. There's history between the programs. Anyhow, obviously that wasn't right, but look at who knocked out Kansas. It was Villanova. And Villanova connected to Philadelphia, the city of prophecy. North Carolina is in their 106th year of being a basketball program. Last year in Philadelphia on May 12th, the train that wrecked was going 106 miles per hour. This year, the train wreck was in Garden City. Garden City in gematria equals 106. Came 44 weeks later. Prophecy in Jewish gematria also sums to 666. Again, North Carolina advanced over Syracuse yesterday. That also has the 666 gematria. Now get this. The sum of the game, it was 83-66. If you add that together, it sums to 149 points. 66 has gematria of 149. So does Skull and Bones, the Masonic order out of Yale. And it just reminds me how in the first round, Yale was the major upset, winning for the first time in 54 years. Numbers of significance. A lot of people go to the gematrix.org calculator and type in my name and declare I'm a shill because my name gematria is 149. My name alone without my middle initial is also 66. You know, my parents gave me this name. I'm not born into masonry. I'm not connected to any of this. Sometimes, there's just number magic. I think there's something greater to this whole number scheme than I know. I think this is relevant to all of our lives in ways that we don't understand. But I just make that mention because so many people think I'm a shill just because my name sums to 149. It isn't so. I don't want to call it a coincidence, but just trust me. I'm not a shill. I'm a person just like you who's just trying to bring more truth into this world. ESPN also had this story up last night. The minute 6 ticker, what do you know? All the numbers of significance. You go look at ESPN's front page right now, it's going to be all the same thing. And if you see numbers that you don't understand, in some way they are relevant. There's always more information to learn. So anyhow, over-under right now in Vegas is at 152 points. Again, Pennsylvania equals 152. Last year, the Duke Blue Devils won it, 152. I predicted that the Duke Blue Devils would win based on the German Wings plane crash hoax, which happened on the 44th parallel last year, 44th parallel north. It happened in mountains where there was a group of hikers known as the Blue Devils in history. It was just easy to see once I saw that story. I said, this is one of these hoaxes. It's foreshadowing a Duke Blue Devils win. Remember, Freemasonry, it's international. These people are giving their tributes all over the world. These stories connect to more than just sports. There's other riddles within them. But just look at it. Duke Blue Devils, 152. Pennsylvania, 152, where Villanova's coming from. The German Wings pilot was named Andreas Lubitz, 152. Riddles, riddles, riddles. And looking at it that way, it might foreshadow that Villanova's going to win. I'm going to check in a second to see if Villanova's going for their 35th win. If they're going for their 35th, that's very concerning in light of all this Catholic stuff. Again, Catholic equals 35. But still, it can't be denied how much lines up for North Carolina. So I'm still, my gut from the beginning said North Carolina. If I'm wrong, I'll live with it. But in a minute, we'll check to see if Villanova's going for number 35 in the championship. If they are, that's interesting. Should North Carolina win this year, it'll be the third time in history that Duke and North Carolina have won the championships back-to-back. North Carolina began the tournament by winning their first game with 93 points. Dean Smith won the championship in 93. He died at age 93. Tributes. Here's what else stands out. Just as a school, not counting the basketball program, just from the beginning of the school, Villanova was established in 1842. I wish I checked that sooner. Yesterday they won on April 2nd, the date with 42 numerology. Freemason, the small way equals 42. The big way, 96. Their basketball program's in their 96th year of existence. Anyhow, the school's 174 years old this year. New World Order equals 174. Again, the New World Order is the Masonic, Zionist, Jesuit World Order. North Carolina, also a very interesting age. Established in 1789. That makes them 227 years old, a number that connects back to pi. When you write out 22 divided by 7, it equals 314. This is very interesting because 22 divided by 7 equals 3.14, the number 4 pi. Pi also factors into all of this prophecy. When you sum the first 144 decimal points of pi, think about all the 144 coding we talked about, it sums to 666. 666 connects to prophecy, which comes back to North Carolina's basketball team being 106 years old. Isn't it fascinating how the age of the schools and the age of the basketball programs sync with both North Carolina and Villanova? It blows my mind, Truth Seeker. Again, the first 144 decimal points of pi synced equals 666. This number connected to prophecy, which is on North Carolina's side. A number connected to the train wrecks. So again, people come here, they think I'm crazy, they witness the work, they pay attention, they realize I'm not. Here I have been talking about train wrecks in the tournament, and then the day before the championship, we get another Philadelphia train wreck. Let's go to ESPN together. Let's look at what the current records are for these teams and see if we can decipher any last-second information. Okay, so Villanova currently at 34 wins. That's very interesting because Tar Heels equals 34. And look at North Carolina, currently at 33 wins, going for their 34th win. Tar Heels equals 34. They won the championship 34 years ago with MJ, something I've been talking about since the beginning because there's a lot of other alignment there. So very interesting. Villanova going for their 35th win. Catholic equals 35. They're a Catholic school. Tar Heels going for their 34th win. And, this makes it difficult to choose who's going to win based off that. It's just like how Oklahoma was going for their 42nd win yesterday and fell short. They lost on the date with 42 numerology April 2nd to the team from the school established in the year 42. So anyway, in light of me saying that so many things line up for North Carolina, it really would make a lot of sense if North Carolina finishes 34-6 and Villanova finishes 34-6. That would be the ultimate North Carolina tribute. Tar Heels equals 34. They're in the year of prophecy. They take it from Philadelphia, the land having all of this prophecy coding, especially through the train wrecks. That said, by tomorrow, I could be saying, whoops, I read it wrong again. I got it backwards. So go with your heart, go with your instincts, go with who you think's going to win. Remember, the experts have said that North Carolina has the best inside game, so they're the favorites to win an NRG stadium, which is a football stadium. And also think about how North Carolina, the state, has suffered in football championships. They've had the 85 connections on both games. Basketball equals 85. North Carolina, third time's a charm, as in third championship in the past year. I expect it to be. If you disagree, don't let me influence you. Until next time, Truth Seeker.